Are you ready? I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And this is Spirit Box.
Yes.
The name of this song
Not
is...
the type of summoning spirits. It's actually a band. People are getting a little confused there.
Oh, yeah.
We are not summoning demons in our home.
Somebody was like, send a prayer out immediately. Which I believe. You shouldn't mess with spirit boxes in your home.
Nope.
But if it's in your metal, then yes, then you should have metal. Spirit boxes metal. Okay, the name of this song is Beauty of Suffering. This is for the big homie, Man of X. If you, dear listener, would like your song review, the process is very simple. $1 at the gate gets you in a Patreon where you get access to the amazing Helen Dross, among many other wonderful people. And you pool your points together, and that helps determine what song we do. Or if you want to be like the big homie Man of X and you want to be a filthy freaking capitalist.
Man of X.
125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You do that 3 times, you get knocked out of the $75 rate. And there's also a option where you can actually do a review with us. Have you ever seen that before? And also, guys, what we're doing right now is called a fire stream. So our live streams are called firesides, where everybody's like a big fire and everybody just kind of hangs out together. It's a wonderful communal moment. A fire stream is when we do the song that you requested live. So Man of X is in the house live. And he's watching us and all the rest of it and all that jazz. It's really, really fun. And no, the being on the fire stream doesn't increase the price for a song review. We just have to listen to this filthy capitalist. We're just gonna get creative about scheduling. You know, Sori was texting Jen and saying, "Hey, when are you gonna be on?" Because we want Jen G on there because
But that's not something that we're gonna be doing.
Sori and
that's just.
Right, Sori and Jen G are friends offline, so it's different. Anyway, Beauty of Suffering or Beauty in Suffering? The Beauty of Suffering.
I think there's only 2 people that have 3 people that have my phone number.
Spirit Box, Beauty of Suffering. Let's go.
Go.
I like the riffage.
will set you free. I gave my heart in pieces, please release me, I'm tired. Don't try to pacify me, please release me, I'm tired. Let my body in peace. No need to pacify me. Let my body in peace. No need to pacify me. You find the strength in your reverie. This is the beauty of suffering. You find escape in the reverie. This is the beauty of suffering. I love you, I always will. My heart is always still. I love you, I always will. My heart is always still. You find the strength in the reverie. This is the beauty of suffering. You find the strength in the reverie. This is the beauty of
Wow. That's a tough one.
What do you mean?
Was that relatable for you?
What do you mean? What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
I don't know. Was it relatable to you? Did you relate to it?
I mean, I think it's one of those songs that everybody can relate to, right? I mean, that's why you make music. What are you trying to say?
Not sure. I'm just wondering if it was relatable to you.
Yeah.
First of all, this song was like, usually I can like ride on her music. I couldn't catch it.
What do you mean by that?
It was like,
Well, I think this song was like
it wasn't smooth. It was something I couldn't catch it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, well, this song was like the most genty of the songs that we've listened to thus far.
yeah.
So like gent is kind of like an acquired taste. It's very, very chunky, like
Yeah.
sugar.
Yeah, but it's like sometimes you feel like that you're like surfing on the music.
Yeah.
You jump on the wave and you just ride it, but I just couldn't get on it.
Well, as this guy is saying, and I can't pronounce his name properly, but the song is very weird. There's a disharmonic between vocals and the instrument line. That's true. Like they were not completely aligned.
Right.
Whereas the last couple songs,
and
that
usually
she had,
I can just like, I just fall right into her music. This is the first one that I was like,
well, you
I'm
had
having
to
a hard time.
You had to work because it was
Yeah.
It sometimes like when you write music, like sometimes the disharmony is on purpose. Mm-hmm. Like they're just like, let's try to do something different. You get tired of doing the same thing over and over again, especially if you're really, really good. But sometimes it's just that you fall, there's been times like you fall in love with a certain riff or progression, and like it doesn't fit into the song, but you're gonna push it through anyway because you wrote the riff and you like it and you think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And a lot of people obviously like this song. The song does very well. Lyrically, I think this is my favorite song of hers lyrically so far, obviously.
I figured, yeah.
We got one more song coming, Justin. This song is my favorite one. It's actually interesting because if we put this on top of the Evanescence song that we did, the Evanescence review, which only got blocked in
Canada
and the US,
yeah.
which is like, they're like, that's 50% of your audience.
Well, that stinks.
Yeah, so, but we did it for Amy Lee Forever, and so she got to see it. But we were talking about, like, suffering. That was, like, the theme of the song, was that she lost her sister. It turns out she lost her brother as well. And so the song was, like, really...
She did?
Yeah, she lost her brother, like, 2018, 2019, and apparently, like, he was, like...
oh, my gosh, that's awful.
You know how I talk about my brother?
That's awful.
You know how I talk about Junior?
Yeah.
It was, like, he was like that in the family.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So, like, that, to me, like... So, she was dealing with that type of situation and really caused her to question her faith. And I was talking about how, I was born in chaos and people, losing people and violence and police and...
Yeah.
But, yeah, so you say the pain will liberate me. You turn my body into knots and tell me it's a blessing. You say you love me in this shape, that there's beauty in my suffering. She has a really interesting relationship with her body. This is like the third song where her body is kind of front and center in the lyrics, which I think is a very
You know what I find interesting
very
too?
deep thing. Yeah.
Is that if you notice what she's been wearing in all of the different videos that we've seen her in, she doesn't wear any provocative clothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that. I didn't really think anything of it either way. Because there's a couple, like, if you look at, like, OTEP, she doesn't wear provocative clothing. But OTEP has also been pretty clear about she's had a rough go at it in her past as far as, how that goes with stuff. But, I mean, the vast majority, I hate saying this, I hate the stats, I hate the whole thing, but it just seems to me the vast majority of women that I've ever been around with have had some sort of survival story with assault. And that's why it's like, I understand that there's like a lot of like false accusation, or I probably shouldn't say a lot of, but from my vantage point, the problem is really the other way. Yeah. Not that there is too many false reports, but there aren't enough genuine reports because a lot of these girls don't say anything, which if you look at the way that they get reacted to, it makes sense why they don't say anything. So you say the pain will liberate me. You turn my body into knots and tell me it's a blessing. You say you love me in this shape, that there's beauty in my suffering. Now, this could be a lot of things, right? It could be she could be talking to God. Or she could be talking about society. Let's say she went through... Well, let's say that she went through some eating disorder. Right?
Yep.
So look at the lyrics again. So let's say she's dealing with bulimia or anorexia, right?
Who's
so
the you?
Look at the lyrics again. You say the pain will liberate me. You turn my body into knots and tell me it's a blessing.
Is that the disorder?
You say you love me in this shape.
Yeah.
Remember that? I don't know how much of this you want to share, but you were going through a pretty difficult time. Like
the tail end of my marriage.
Yeah, and then there's...
What? The what?
Is that a phrase that I'm clear to use?
Go ahead. I don't understand what you're saying, but I'm sure it's fine.
You had some post-assault difficulties.
Yeah.
And you started, with food.
Oh, yeah. I stopped eating.
And then you stopped eating.
Yeah.
And, I was watching you, and I was observing you, and I was seeing that, like, you were not eating. And you were losing weight at a rapid pace because we would go out and do 2 miles. Sometimes we did. One time we did a half. One time,
it was like it's really sick, but it was my only joy.
It was one day we did 13 miles. I don't know if you remember that.
13 miles.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
It was a half marathon.
Yeah, that's right.
Congratulations.
That's right. Yeah. No, it was.
Which at the time I was like, oh yeah, good. I needed to do it. Anyway.
I needed your friendship, and I enjoyed your friendship, but nothing gave me the joy like my head hitting the pillow when I had barely eaten anything.
Right, because it gave you a sense of, control or whatever of the situation, or what?
I'm not sure. It might have been like a control thing, but I feel like that's so simple of an answer. There was something really safe about it. I'm not sure what it was. Mm-hmm. And almost like, I think that when you're like that, you almost feel a little bit like you're dying because you don't have enough energy to do what you're doing, but you're still doing it. So I was still doing all of that running and all that stuff. So I think I liked the feel of, that slow.
Yeah, So
and I was and it was, what we said about that song before, like I had a lot of rage toward my own body. And so that was it. That was a big part of it. I hated my own body so much that I loved when it was in pain, and I loved it. It was right. So it was a hard spot.
Yeah, so you took it out on your body, basically. Mm-hmm. So like that. So I remember going to your man at the time, and I remember pulling him aside, and I was like, "Listen, Sori, I'm pretty sure has early onset like anorexia. So you have got to engage that and tell her this isn't good, blah blah blah." And what did he say to you? He said something to the effect of, "You look great," or something like that.
Yeah, he liked it.
Yeah, everybody was commenting on Sori losing all this weight in a very quick period of time. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was, you lost, I don't know, 15, 16 pounds in like 4 or 5 days. Like, it was not like healthy, progressive loss, due to proper nutrition.
It was fast. I don't know if it was 4 or 5 days.
I have since learned to replace diet and exercise with proper nutrition and exercise, because it wasn't that. It was a very sharp, dramatic, whoop, hello, and I was like losing my mind, because part of it, some of it is being black culture, and black culture, a woman with some weight is preferable. But a lot of it was just like, holy shit, but everybody kept saying, you look great, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Like, because the other side of it was everybody knew that you were going through something. They didn't know, like, the details. Like, some of them wanted the details, you fucking nosy motherfucker. I'm talking about you, J.B. Fucking
oh yeah, he
hell.
made life a living hell for me because I wouldn't tell him what I was going
fucking
through.
Guy, man, I swear. I'm so happy that dude found some girl, because guaranteed
I feel so bad for that girl.
He would have either jumped off a bridge or pushed a bunch of women off a bridge if he didn't find somebody. Guaranteed. Yeah. Shorty,
I
she's
feel like
probably.
It's only a matter of time for her. But anyway, that's not the point.
But like, people kept saying about how awesome your body was, and I'm like.
Or getting mad at me. They were like jealous of it.
Yeah. Oh, that was. Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, it was a weird place to be in, because
you couldn't put it together. Like, she's obviously very depressed and angry. They're obviously going through something, and all of a sudden this broad loses 15 pounds in 4 fucking days. Like, maybe there's a correlation, and it's not good.
I think it was 20 pounds in 2 weeks or something like that. I think it was.
I mean,
I don't know. It was fast. It was a lot, and it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was so frustrating because, like, I felt so good doing it, but then I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of getting to see the body on me that he wanted. It was just a frustrating thing.
Well, so I might be reading situations. You say the pain will liberate me. You turn my body into knots. Tell me it's a blessing. You say you love me in this shape. That there's beauty in my suffering. I wonder, would I stay if you asked for it? You still create the shape and I ask for it. So it's like blaming herself almost a little bit there. I gave my heart in pieces. Please release me. I'm tired. Don't try to pacify me. Please release me. I'm tired. So I got the impression that she was in a relationship. It was unhealthy.
Yeah, that's what I got from it.
And she ended up having an eating disorder, and the guy...
Oh, eating disorder is what you got out of for real?
Again, body suffering. You like the shape of my body. Blah. You say you like me. You love me in this shape.
Yeah, but I didn't think it was a physical shape. I thought it was like in the shape that I'm in, where I'm friggin' dependent on you because I'm so fucked up from what you've done to me. That's what I got from it.
It could be. I mean, it's hard. It could be. The thing for me, though, was the fact that, you know, she's talking about beauty in her suffering. It literalized the thing to me, because she says, you turn my body into knots. Mm-hmm. So that's why, like, obviously when she says I gave my heart in pieces,
so you turn my body into knots to me was
and tell me it's a blessing.
Stressing her out.
Yeah, I got the same thing, but then it says, you say you love me in this shape. So obviously I'm reading the situation that you are in into the situation. I'm sure could be a quadrillion other different things.
That's what you were thinking about when you heard this song?
Oh yeah, this part right here, especially here in verse 2. I'm slipping away, no discipline. Just let me be, which is a big thing that a lot of these folks talk about is they get proud of the discipline that they have to be anorexic.
Oh yeah.
And it's something something that they're proud of.
It's not even something that is like, it's not out of my blood. It's, you know, whenever I start getting super stressed out, it's very, very, oh, Michelle, yeah, I see you put it up there. Yeah, you're not alone. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's not even something that's like, I'm not cured of it.
Right.
Like,
right.
Especially when I get super stressed out.
And she says, now my body starts to worry. You know? Now my body starts to worry. Put down the words. I will not hesitate. This is your chance. Make me relatable. Knock me down with your false intentions. And it turns to ashes in my mouth. I need you gone. I beg you to release me. I just think that this guy did such a number on her mentally that her body was the only thing that became the relatable part to her, and then, you know, it ravaged her body. But I don't think she was strong enough to end the thing herself.
Right.
So right. She said,
she wanted him,
please release me.
Let me go, please.
Yeah.
My gosh, let me go. Yeah. 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 I think that, you know, I've actually I remember years ago, see, I didn't realize that, like, as a teenager, I had, it's like so much, how much to say, how much not to say. So, like, when I was a teenager,
I mean, me personally, I'm good. Say anything you want. I think it will help people. But
my goal was to always be hungry. Like, that was my goal. And so,
really?
Yeah. So, like, if you felt full, that was a bad feeling. If you felt satisfied, that really wasn't a super good feeling either. Like, you had to go through a big, good chunk of the day with feeling hungry in your stomach. And that hunger, I started, like, that it switched in my mind, and that hunger actually meant thin. So if I was hungry, that meant I was thin, and that was a good thing. And I would weigh myself multiple times a day. And then I remember, like, reading in one of my friends', actually it was BJ and Kay's, one of her magazines, because I wasn't allowed to have teen magazines. But when I went to her house on a rare occasion, like, that's where I would get music and magazines. And so I was reading through one of her teen magazines, and it was talking about, like, this is how you know if you have an eating disorder. And then, like, there was anorexia, bulimia, and then there was this other weird category, and I was like, what is this? And it nailed me. Like, you weigh yourself multiple times a day, you spend the majority of the day hungry, blah blah blah. And so, like, that was
really?
Like, yeah.
What was it called? You don't know?
I don't remember. I just remember being shocked that it was in the book as, like, there's a problem here. And then I was like, no. And I just, like, threw it off because I'm like, I don't have a problem. I thought that this is how anybody that wants to, like, look good is. Like, this is how everybody does things. And I exercised all the time. Like, every single day, it was at least an hour a day. I didn't let myself drink before or during my workout. I had to wait until the end, and then I would drink a whole glass. But it was like that. Although I feel like that you can relate to that. It's that whole, like, you're looking for that goal at the end. Like, can you do it? Everybody else would fold under this. Everybody else would be, like, dripping buckets of sweat, and they would need to drink. Like, but anyway, so there was that. Then
I mean, there's certain communities that elevate
that sort of obsession.
Destroying your body.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously, I think people put together, I was in part of, you know.
Right.
2 of those communities, but it had a telos, it had a goal.
Right.
It wasn't always like destroy your body.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it was more about using your mind to overcome the limits that your other
limitations
mind
that
is telling you based on how your body feels. But it wasn't one of these things where it was like celebrated and be terrible to your body. I mean, they had people, they had like medical professionals there that would like pull you if, you know.
This is supposed to be for Man of X.
So, anyway, you had guys that would like medically like pull you. Like one of my friends, he got rolled and he got caught in a thing as he was rolling in the water, and his arm was over here and his body was like over here, and he like clearly had dislocated. Well, he dislocated his shoulder, and like I guess there's something under your shoulder blade. He completely like sliced that right through because he was like swimming in shit, and I looked over and his arm was like dangling, and he was like, "Hey," he's like, "Oh, I'm good." Like they forced him out. Like you're done. Like they forced him. He was right at the end of the course thing. It was. I cried. I cried for him. It was sad. A lot of people cried for him because he grinded it out. Oh. He had a broken ankle. He got hurt really early. Broke his. I'm like, I'm pretty sure, bro, your ankle's broken. He's like, yeah, don't say anything. And he huffed it out, and he would have continued. I mean, he eventually, made it, but he wanted to, go with us and everything, and he cried, man. And he was a hard motherfucker, but he cried. My point is, like, even in these, if I told people what it was, they'd be like, oh my God. Even in these really extreme circumstances, they still, like, take care of your body.
Yeah.
Like, this, like, it's almost like it never ends. It's like this never-ending thing where you constantly have to do it over. I remember when we all made it out, like, everybody, we ate, people were eating like crazy. They went, whatever. So what I'm saying is, like, the discipline that you girls have in these situations, like, it's more discipline than the toughest people in the world.
Yeah.
But it's not channeled properly. It's channeled more toward destruction than it is to. There's no goal to it other than I have control of this situation. Mm-hmm. And so, like, that's where it becomes really scary to me.
It's weird, too, because I was not influenced by anyone or anything. That came from inside of me. Like, like we've told you guys before, we didn't have music. I didn't have magazines. We didn't really have TV. And we were homeschooled. Mm-hmm. So we spent the majority of time, like, around the kids in the neighborhood and our cousins. Mm-hmm. And nobody that I knew of in those environments had an eating disorder or anything like that. So I don't even know where I got that decision. And then I met somebody when I was in Bible college, and she was saying that she always had an eating disorder and that it was very, very difficult for her to stop, and that she finally stopped, but that it was something that she, like, always wanted to, like, start up again. Like, she had to keep fighting herself. And the college that I was at, you didn't have, like, healthy food choices that you could have. So, like, everybody was just gaining weight. Like, we had Panera Bread. Like, we got all of Panera Bread's leftover stuff the night before. So, friggin' the next morning, it's, like, all of this gourmet food right there, And
it's all starch. Like, it's all bread.
Yeah. It was, that's literally all you had, though, because they didn't even they had cereal, but the milk that they used was powdered milk. So, like, who's going to drink that? Not me. I'm not drinking that. So, it's like that, or you could have that awesome muffin from Panera Bread. Like, obviously, you're going to pick the Panera Bread. So, anyway.
So
that girl was saying that she had it, but she was married, actually. And she was telling me, she was like, Sori, it's so hard for me not to go back to the eating disorder. And then this part was a little bit sad. She was saying that, like, that any time that she was with her husband, that she would start getting, like, really, like, anxiety about it because she felt like she looked so gross.
You mean with them, like, physically with them?
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, like they were doing stuff. And I felt bad for her
because... She felt gross.
She felt gross. And so she said that she would say...
She wasn't...
No. She was probably, like, my size now. Like, it's not like she was, like...
Oh, so she was fine as hell then. Yo, shorty!
Stop it. Anyway, so...
I'm here for you.
Stop that!
Brothers are here for you,
Stop
shorty.
that. She didn't have the same body type as me, though.
Oh, I forget. Continue. As you were.
How dare you? Anyway, so she was, like, saying that, and so she would... Like, obviously, like, her anxiety would start kicking in, and then she would say to her husband, like, oh, like, I feel like this is, like, and he told her, like, I wish you would stop doing that because it's not attractive to hear you saying those things. In that
Downing
situation.
Herself.
Yeah, like, he just wanted her to be like, yeah, you know, like, work it like you own it, you know what I mean? But, like, she didn't feel it, and so... It's a little bit hard to do that. And so that was kind of the first time that I realized, but again, I was still separated from the situation. I didn't realize I had a problem myself. So I was like, oh, this poor lady, like, you know, she's always going to struggle with this her whole freaking life.
I sat and talked about this with the boys in one of the man studies. Mm-hmm. You know, it was one of the, you know, after that, I was like, okay, I got to lighten up here because they were crying every single week for a while. Because I was talking about, you know, the passage in... I think it's 1 Peter where he says, live with your wives in an understanding way, knowing that she's a fellow heir of the grace of life as you are. Mm-hmm. And I hung out on understanding. And I told the boys, I'm like, look, man, there's a lot of things that girls in this society go through that by the time they get to you, like by the time they're marriageable age, they have already
been traumatized.
They've already been through so much trauma and pain and have come up with so many defense mechanisms to deal with that pain. And especially if she perceives you as a safe male, she's gonna just unload. There might be times when she unloads, and I'm trying to give like some context to understand, okay, this is how many women have been sexually assaulted. Here are the RAINN statistics. Here's what anorexia does. Here's what bulimia does. Here is what, you know, your girl has to, you know, talked about pornography and how hurtful that is to women as far as like you're in a relationship and you're an avid porn watcher and then you got your wife there and your wife is comparing herself to these girls who are whatever. And there's just so many things. And they were just blown away, you know, and I'm like, so when that verse says understanding, like, understanding is really deep. It's a lot of listening. It's a lot of overlooking stuff. It's a lot of, like, you know, really sitting down and hearing what she's saying and trying to hear what's underneath what she's saying. And and it was just a very hard, and you know, I told the boys, like, you're not going to be perfect at it, you know, and because I'm obviously not perfect at it, but there's so many, you know, things that women go through in the West, and look, would I rather my kids grow up my daughters grow up in the Western world than in, like, let's say, you know, the Eastern side of the world? Of course, like, there's so many benefits to living in this time period and where we are geographically, but man, there's a hell of a lot of things that our society imposes on women that, you know, make it an extremely difficult ride for them. Yeah. And you know, it's not enough to be not a bad guy. Mm-hmm. You know, like, it's not enough to not be a guy who's a rapist or not be a guy who makes her feel terrible about her body. Like, you've got to proactively work you have to assume that you're getting a woman who's strong and survived, but she's got some scars. And you gotta, the main part of being a man is to be able to recognize when the scars are talking versus when, you know, the person is talking, because it's not the same thing. And a lot of dudes taking shit personally, and I still do. You know, like the shit me and you go through, and it's like, I'm like, how I'm not getting treated as nicely, but a lot of it is just I'm the only safe person to be that way with, considering how you came up. And I just think that you have to to prepare boys for that, and I think it's an important discussion to have, and not a lot of. I remember one time Dora was like, "Father, you need to," he told me to write a book or something like that. He's like, otherwise, young men, Dorian talks, he's like, otherwise, young men will be misguided. They won't understand what's happening.
Misguided.
No. So anyway.
Yeah.
It's a... So yeah, the song was kind of like disharmonic and whatever, but lyrically, I thought it was a message that everybody needs to hear. And hopefully, inshallah, it opens up, really serious conversations. Michelle was saying, do you think my parents would forgive me for what I did in my teenage years? And obviously, Michelle, as a parent of teenagers, yes, they'll forgive you.
If they're good parents, I don't know what kind of parents she has. There's some bad parents out there that would be like, I do think
a good sit down and a conversation. Her parents sound like they loved her really, a whole bunch. I think.
Then talk to them.
Yeah. I think if you sit down, Shorty, and you talk to your parents, I think that you'll see that it's going to be a good conversation for sure. Tough song. Obviously, there are other issues.
If anybody is listening to this, and that's what I thought. If anybody's listening to this and you're struggling with an eating disorder or anything like that, like there is help out there for you.
Yeah.
And I think that one, get the help that you need from people, recognizing that you have the issue and recognizing when it's coming up and finding out why it is that you want to do that and finding another way to help you, like if it's a control thing and there's something in your life that feels like it's completely out of control, like your life is not outside of your control. Some decisions are hard to make to bring it so that way you have more control about what's going on in your life. But some stuff you have to ease up on and some stuff you have to leave. So you got to find out what type of situation you're in. So get the help that you need and stay safe and eat healthy.
And don't be ashamed of if you've been through it, or even if you're thinking about it, or if you got over it, but you're really do not be ashamed of it. It's a survival mechanism because you're a fighter. You're still alive. And if you do shit like whatever it takes for you to survive in the short term, there's no judgment for that. Period. And if people do judge you, then fuck them. Because I'm not going to judge anybody for surviving. All I'm saying is, look, man, the 9-layer jacket that you needed in Antarctica to keep alive will kill you if you were in Africa. Mm-hmm. So there are times where survival mechanisms are important, and if it's all you did to survive, obviously there's no judgment for that. But now we're in a situation where you don't have to do that.
Yep.
Right? It's like Michelle says her parents are her best friends. They love you to death. Man, talk to them, Michelle. I guarantee you they're going to say something really, really cool. Send us an email with your size or whatever and your address, and we'll send you a free shirt, huh? And you're going to look awesome no matter what size you are. Okay. That's that. Tough song. I'm going to unrate this song because I really, really feel like it's an important message.
I agree.
It's something that I've never heard talked about in hip-hop, and I've never heard talked about in the metal community except for now. If she's talking about an eating disorder, which I don't think she is, I don't know. I'd like to know. Anyway, that's that. I'm done with this song.
Yeah.
There you are. And I love you a lot. Huh?
I love you too.
All right. Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone.